Green. He's a member of the House Oversight Committee, the Homeland Security Committee, the House Freedom Caucus. He was also a Special Operations Flight Surgeon. He took part of the mission to capture Saddam Hussein. Congressman, great to have you with us.
Great to be back with you, Lou.
Let's start with these legislative days. No offense, but you all don't work a lot, and the Dems apparently mean not to work at all on solving this urgent national security crisis.
Yeah, it's absolutely a crisis. You got that right. We're ready to negotiate with these guys. We have reached across the aisle multiple times. The president has reached across the aisle multiple times. I mean, he had compassion on the federal employees and reopened the government, gave them another deadline. They won't come to the table. They will not talk. Nancy Pelosi is listening to the hard left progressives in her party, and she is not letting go. And there are many Democrats, interestingly enough, who are reaching across to us saying, hey, we want border security. Many have said, yeah, we believe a barrier is a part of this, but Pelosi just won't talk.
Well, you know, if I may say, Congressman, it's damn big of the radical Dems to acknowledge that a wall would be helpful in saving lives, tens of thousands of lives. But I'm a little past, applauding them, at least halfway acknowledging reality. There's got to be a reason. Somebody's on the take. Corruption isn't just on one side of that border. And common sense tells every American that we have got to do everything we can to stop the shipments of heroin and cocaine and methamphetamines, marijuana, fentanyl, and every other deadly drug, because it's being shipped. The majority of all those drugs crossing that border from Mexico to the United States.
Absolutely. 300 Americans a week are dying to heroin overdose. I'm an ER physician. I've seen those patients, crashing in the emergency department. I mean, it is an arterial bleed, to put it colloquially, and we have got to put a tourniquet on it. And that tourniquet is a barrier wall. The president has a solution. The Democrats have supported more money than he's asking for in the past, and yet now they won't do it because maybe it helps them in 2020. I mean, that's what they're focused on. They're focused on 2020, on the politics, and not on protecting American people. It's unconscionable.
It's unconscionable, and it is the Democratic Party's strategy. And I think that you're right, the president's right. Straightforwardly, there's only one campaign promise this president has not delivered on. That's the building of that wall. And the Democrats have boiled it all down to just one thing: obstructing that wall no matter what, no matter the casualties, no matter the death and devastation and the destruction, of whether it's wrought by human smuggling, sex trafficking, or the smuggling of those drugs.
Yeah, they don't seem to care about the human suffering. And very clearly in the president's package, humanitarian relief, $800 million, 52,000 new apartment units, more law enforcement. I mean, this isn't just a barrier, but for them, it's just a political ad. They're fighting for 2020, and that's all they care about.
You were on the Homeland Security Committee. We're looking at a border that is, we're talking about millions of illegal immigrants have crossed that border, basically unimpeded, for the past 13 years. We have seen the death, the destruction from drugs. We are watching a corrupt system in Mexico where 33,000 Mexican citizens were murdered last year by the drug cartels. This is the only president who has ever said we're going to go after the cartels. What does the Homeland Security think of those efforts and the efforts of the Homeland Security Department to actually carry out his policies and to actually secure that border?
Absolutely. Homeland Security has identified aspects of the border, regions of the border where most of the trafficking occurs, both humans and drugs. They know exactly where the 243 miles or 234 miles are supposed to be built. They know the corridors where it's happening. They are targeting it. They know the law enforcement that's needed. They have a great plan, and we've presented this to the Democrats, and it's like talking to the wall.
Well, a wall that does exist, that wall between Democrats and Republicans. The obstruction of the Dems is quite a sight to behold. Hard to explain except for massive political corruption and perhaps other kinds as well. Congressman Mark Green, great to talk with you as always. Good to see you.
Same, Lou. See you.